In today's video, we're going to talk about how to open up your own box truck business. We're going to give you an insight into what you need to do in terms of the basics, what it looks like in terms of the basics, what you have to do, and also how to set up the business. And we're going to talk about the different licensing requirements, authority requirements, and permit requirements in order for you to actually get into the business from a safety and compliance side of the equation as well. And we're also going to talk about the tools and equipment that are needed for you to be successful in this job. And we're also going to talk about what places you can go to find loads that you can run for your customers. And at the end of the video, when I'm done talking about this stuff, please comment, like, and share, and let's get this out there to more people who want to actually get into logistics side, and even if that means starting small, as in terms of a straight truck instead of the big 18-wheelers. So let's get into it. So box trucks are smaller equipment units, so smaller truck units. They come in 18 footers, sometimes even 16 footers, 20 foot, 22 foot, 24 foot, 26 foot even, right? And they are typically used in the logistics industry when it comes to LTL shipment of freight, so less than truckload. So when you have a pallet here, a pallet there, 4 pallets, 5 pallets, 8 pallets, less than a full truckload that would take you in a large 53-foot dry van. And in addition to this, they're also very versatile. So they're a versatile type of equipment that can get into residential areas. It's places that the big rigs can't really go into. That's why you don't really see the big 53-foot dry vans in residential areas, because these straight trucks are the ones that do these jobs from the warehouses or distribution centers where the big rigs take the freight in larger quantities, and then the box trucks, or you as a business, would go in and load in a pallet or two to take it to a residential area, or maybe even a box or two to take it to a residential area, as an example. In addition to this, you also got to consider what type of box truck you're going to get. Okay, if you don't choose the right one, you can potentially be losing out on profit or revenue in essence. Okay, so typically it comes in the range of between class 3 and class 7. Okay, so you have as low as class 3, which is 12,500 pounds. That's the gross vehicle weight rating. So that means that's the gross vehicle's weight upon which the entire vehicle holds. That's 12,500 pounds. In addition to this, there's the higher end stuff that's heavier weighted. So the gross vehicle weight rating would be 33,000 in class 7. And your class 8 trucks, for example, your semi trucks, you have the 53-foot dry van, let's say connected to Volvo VNL series, for example. So that would be a gross vehicle weight rating in combination of up to 80,000 pounds, okay? And it's very important to take this into consideration, because if your box truck that you are purchasing or have purchased is more than is a 26,000 pounds or more, so above 25,999 pounds, then you will actually have to go out and get yourself a CDL, a commercial driver's license. And this actually costs money to get. So depending on the state you're in or the province you're in, for example, if you're in the United States or Canada, respectively, you will actually have to pay thousands of dollars, in some cases, multiple thousands of dollars, just to get your commercial driver's license. And you have to go through the mandatory training in some states. You have to go through the road tests and the written knowledge tests. So it costs money. So you have to keep that in mind if you're going to go down the road of getting yourself a box truck that's over 25,999 pounds in gross vehicle weight rating. And keep in mind, when it comes to how big your box truck is, a word of advice that I can give you is that if it's a larger vehicle, a larger size of a box truck, you will do better for yourself in terms of revenue. Okay, so typically speaking, for the business itself, the larger they are, the better it is for you. So another word of advice is, if you don't want to go down the CDL route, if you can get closer to 26,000 without going over 25,999, the better it is for you and your business. Okay. And one thing that you can do to confirm this is to go to shippers around your local area and just confirm with them or give them phone calls. That's fine. Before you even go out and start your business, before you even go out and buy your box truck, figure out in your local area what size of box trucks, if they have a need for box trucks, are they using. Just ask them, hey, what are you using? What is the size of the box truck, or how big are your loads typically that you have to use in order to get to the level of service that you guys are requesting. Okay, and it's simple as that. Just open up and ask. And it's simple. You pick up the phone, you ask them what is their preferred specifications for hauling their freight is. So ask them, just say, hey, what are your preferred specifications? And 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you if they have a need for box trucks and what is the size of box trucks that they typically request from their service providers, their vendors, such as potentially yourselves as well. And now that you understand what these absolute simplicities are, the basics of box trucking, when it comes to money, how much money you can get, how much profit you can make, how much can you be left at the end of the year, I've seen it as low as $35,000, and I'm sure some people that are in this industry have heard of numbers that are even lower. However, there's also the high end of the scale where I've seen it as high as $300,000. Okay, and that goes to show that there's a lot of variation depending on the size of box truck, and the geography where you're located, and how hard you're willing to work to get to where you want to be. Now, the average, I've seen it around $115,000. That's about the average. So you can be making 6 figures running your own business the way you want it to be ran, if you do it the right way. So this is a business that you can make good money in, and after you've been paying your expenses and all that stuff, still have money left over where you can scale your business as well. And with that, it's important to say that if you are in a metro city where box trucks are going hustling and bustling every single second of every single day, your services are going to be needed. So there's a high demand, right? High population, high demand. And this supply needs to be delivered. So you are supplying as well equipment to get this done. So if you're in Chicago, if you're in Houston, if you're in Los Angeles, if you're in New York City as an example, Toronto, Ontario, Canada as an example, Detroit, there's going to be business for you. But if you're in, Wyoming, you're going to be making less money because, yes, just like many things, this is important. Demand is important. And the demand in Wyoming is not going to be the same as in New York City. That's a given. And also, when you're beginning off, now you've decided, if you want to get into this business, and now you're going to go out and search for a truck. That's going to be your biggest expense right off the bat. Now, yes, you might have to go get some kind of loan or a line of credit or some way, if you don't have that cash already in your reserves, as an example, in your bank account, you will have to go out and find a box truck to buy. You can buy used ones for, 15, 20 grand, okay, that are still roadworthy, and you can get your safety inspection and all that kind of stuff, right, that are not damaged and beyond repair, right? So you can do that. And I've seen them as high for new ones as 80,000, 60,000, 90,000, for example, 100,000, depending on the type that you want to get, right? So this is good news for you. Okay, there's a fit for all of your wallets, right? After you've decided for the size, I recommend that you go to your auto traders, your commercial truck places, the Riders of the world and the Penskes of the world, and the dealerships of the world, and try to find the right price for you for the right type of equipment that you've decided to buy. And so if you're going to go with smaller trucks, you're going to be paying less money, right? So you're going to find a class 2, class 3 truck used for 15 grand, for example, right? Typically, I've seen them between the $25,000 and $45,000 range. For the class 4 trucks, I've seen them between 40 and 50,000. For class 5, I've seen them between 50 and 70,000. And the class 6 are the, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 grand type of box truck. So keep that in mind once you've decided, like I've said. And in terms of the purchase itself, after you've found that truck that you're looking for, I would put at least some sort of smaller down payment on it, some percentage of that total amount that you're supposed to pay, and finance the rest. And as you're making money, as money's coming in, set aside that financing payment and pay off that truck in due time. And you slowly but surely build your business this way instead of just fronting right away 60 grand without knowing how this business is going to go. I would much rather just first small down payment after you found that truck and then finance the rest of it, not the entire thing, but the rest. And in addition to this, you have to understand that in addition to the truck, there are some extra things that you will need in terms of equipment to get going, right? So some of those things could be load bars, it could be straps that you're going to use to secure the freight inside of the box truck, and a pallet jack as an example. This is some things that you will need in order for you to be successful in the movement of freight with the box truck. In addition to this, you will also have to spend some money on maybe some licensing requirements if you decide to get one of the heavier box trucks. Like I said, 26,000 pounds or more, then you will have to get yourself a CDL. And then also the permitting itself can cost some money. Okay, not crazy amounts of money, but some money to get started. And of course, like all commercial vehicles and personal vehicles, we have to think about insurance. So you have to spend some money on insurance. On the business aspect of the business, okay, you have to spend some money potentially on getting yourself a website and then the marketing so people know that you exist. Because if people don't know that you as a company exist, how are you going to have people use your services, right? So that's something you have to spend some money on. And also load boards, right? It's a place where you find shipments for your box trucks. That's also a monthly subscription fee. Some even charge it annually that you will have to pay in order to get into the box truck business. And running my own asset trucking business, a piece of advice I would like to give all of you that are, if you've gotten this far into the video, is that you have to set aside something like 15% of your earnings in case, in the God forbid situations. So the breakdown in a vehicle, blown tires, maybe some inspection where they say that the weight scale may say, hey, your tires aren't fit for the road. You might have to exchange your tires. This costs money. Okay, so you should be sent if 10 to 15% is fine. So 10 to 15% is better than zero. It's better to be prepared financially for something like that to happen, or an engine to be blown out, where you have to now replace an engine or something of that nature, where it can run a bill of 5-6 grand or 10 grand. So set aside 10 to 15%. I'm telling you, as an asset trucking owner, as a business owner, I am telling you this is something that you should be doing to run your business the right way. So now we've gotten this far where we've talked about all that kind of stuff, the basic setups in terms of how to get a box truck business going. Now you got to think about the marketing strategy, the business plan itself in terms of how are people going to find you? How are people going to find you? So one thing that you have to really consider is maybe drawing yourself up a little logo for your company, okay? If you're going to be called Space Express, make sure you put Space Express and you make a nice little logo. If your name is Bob, don't just put Bob John on the side of your truck. No one's going to know what the heck Bob John does, right? If you're an automotive parts delivery company, maybe you want to be called Auto Logistics or Auto Trucking or auto box trucking, or automotive box trucking, or automotive delivery guys, something of that nature as an example, right? So use something that's pertinent to the industry itself. Don't just put your name in it, okay? Maybe my name would be the bald guy logistics, okay? Or something of that nature, right? So you put some little spice and flavor into the name itself, the business name itself. But I would recommend not putting just your name in it, like Tyler Joseph, and that's it. No one's going to know what you do. So people have to have some sort of connection and associate your box truck company to the business of moving freight, okay? Logistics, transportation. And after you have found a name, whether that's through Google searches, creative name ideas, business name generators that are out there, after you've went about that, then you should go and get yourself a website. But before you make that website or create it, you should go and buy a domain name that's specific to your actual box truck business. Okay, so if your name is Bald Guy Box Truck Delivery, Bald Guy Box Truck Delivery, so you should go and get a domain name Bald Guy Delivery, or Bald Guy Box Truck, or Bald Guy Trucking, or Bald Guy Box Truck Trucking, or however you want to, whatever kind of name generation that you come up. I'm using that as an example, right? And you want to buy not only that domain name, but you also want to buy similar names to that. Okay? So if it's Bald Guy Trucking, you should buy baldguy.com as well. Bald Guy Delivery, Bald Guy Trucks, Bald Guy Logistics. Buy a bunch of different names, so that way anytime someone searches the name of your company, all of these different ones would pop up and populate first, and you would funnel more potential customers that way as well. In addition to this, after you've decided on the name and you've bought yourself the domain names on the internet, okay, whether you're using something like GoDaddy, for example, or you go within a package where you can get the domain name, they will host your website and the servers and all that kind of stuff. With like Wix, for example, Squarespace is another one out there that you can do this as well. So you can go down that route. After you've done that, then you should go to some kind of a logo creator. You can find a bunch of different ones on Google, okay, and create yourself a logo for your company, okay? You can even go down the Fiverr route of actually hiring somebody to come up with a logo or a bunch of logos that you can decide from using Fiverr. And if you do go down the Fiverr route, typically it's going to be somewhere for a professional to do it properly so it looks nice, between 50 and 150 bucks for a logo, okay? And having this website is very important to get as much business visibility out there for your company as possible. A lot of people, when they start in the box truck business, they actually make this, mistake, for lack of a better term. They essentially don't get themselves out there visible, and they only depend on load boards. That's not the best solution out there. I think you should definitely be depending on more than just one stream of revenue, so to speak, or potential stream of revenue. So having your name out there, having a Google page, a place where customers can find you when they search for box trucks, is very important in order to grow your business the right way. And this goes a long way to show how important it is to do things the right way. Okay, to not just go about it the way that we've been kind of taught to do. And that's very important to keep that in mind. Okay, now after you've done all of that and you've kind of taken a step back and realized where you need to be on that front, then you want to take into consideration, after you've done your website, you've done your marketing, you've done your research on that front, right? You've decided what size of truck, and you went along all of those routes to make sure you're ready for the next step. This is now where you go in and you decide whether or not, whether or not you would be willing to entertain being a part of this industry as a whole. Okay. So once you've decided that, maybe then would be the time for you to go out and get yourself the proper permits and authorities, depending on what you want to do in that side of the industry. Okay, and keep in mind, for your website, it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to go spend 8 grand, 10 grand on a website. It can be a simple landing page where people can find you and you can source leads this way, right? Freight forwarders will be looking for you in this light too. They'll search for box trucks in your local area to try to find you that way. Okay, so this is something that can mean a lot for your business, especially in this smaller unit world, the cargo vans, the sprinter vans, the box trucks, and so on and so forth. So once you've done all that, now you have to go down the route of creating your business. Now, when you decide to open up, you can decide whether you want an S corp or if you want to go down the LLC route. Typically, if you're doing it in the United States, typically speaking, an LLC is the right route to go, and it works right for a large majority of people that want to get into the box truck business. If you're in Canada, you should incorporate. You should go down the federal incorporation route to get your articles of incorporation. For tax purposes, it makes it easier that way. So depending on what country you're in, this changes, right? So in the US, LLC typically is fine, whereas in Canada, it's a federally regulated, a federally incorporated business that you would need to do in order to open up your business. And once you've done that, now you can design a business plan. Now, whether you get into box trucks, sprinter vans, cargo vans, the big rigs, or if you want to even do freight brokering, a business plan is what will set you up for success, because you're writing down on a piece of paper what you are looking to attain, what your business goals are for a certain identified period of time, right? So you can write down your financials, you can write down your projections, you can write down who your potential customers will be, what markets you want to target, whether it's city markets in terms of like you want to only focus on New York City as an example, if you're out of the New York City area, or if you want to do regional, if you want to do national, you can decide how you want to grow your business. Now, my word of advice is, again, it's kind of like those circles on a dart throwing board, right? So you have the local area, which is your bullseye area. Then after the bullseye area, you have the following one, which would be your potentially, local is your bullseye. Then you have your regional area. Then you may have your state area as example. Then you might have your national area that you focus on, or extended regional areas. For example, some people only do in the northeast of the US. Some people do Midwest. Some people only do Pacific Coast, right? Deciding where you are, again, where you want to focus your time and energy to grow your business. So business plan is very important. Just take a piece of paper and start writing down, or open up a notepad on the computer and start writing down how you want your business to achieve the goals that you're looking for, even from a revenue basis, but from a scaling basis as well. So after you've designed your business plan, you also want to talk to your bank to see what kind of bank accounts would be available, or talk to a financial advisor to talk about what kind of bank account would be best for you and with which bank or banking institution. Like I said, also, you should be looking at, my word of advice is to make sure that your finances are separate from your personal finances. So make sure that your business side of things are separate from your own side of things. Okay, so in other words, your business side of things, right? So if you open up a box truck business, make sure all of those expenses and the income goes through one business checking account, whereas your personal finances are separate from that, especially if you're dealing in an LLC capacity, because you can run into the issue of actually losing some protective measures, some security when it comes to having an LLC business if you start to mix the finances together. And in addition to this, you also have to, if you go down the route of getting credit cards, which you should for your box truck business, it should be separate from that of which you have your personal credit cards. So your credit card should have your business name on it. This is just some friendly advice for you to take into consideration. And credit cards are a good way if you have to build your credit history for your business. So that way, if you apply for a loan, they can take that into consideration when they're going through the approval process. Okay, so that's why it's wise to get one. Okay, friendly advice would be for you to get one. And also, please don't mix your personal expenses with your business expenses when it comes to that business credit card. Now, once you've decided all of this, talk to your bank. You should talk about some potential ways that you can get funding for your box truck business, because it can be a little bit pricey if depending on what route you take, right? Primarily because of the equipment itself. So you got to get the box truck, and that's the heaviest lifting that you're gonna have to do in the beginning. You can get started somewhere around 5 grand if you end up renting or leasing a box truck, and somewhere closer between, depending again, Canada or US respectively, between 10 or 15 grand if you decide to buy your own box truck. So that's kind of like in terms of your expenses just to get your foot in the door to get started. So you got to find out where you can get that money from. Now, sometimes you can get a line of credit from the bank. For new businesses, you can go and try to do that. They might be a little bit hesitant because you're a brand new business, but some banks are more willing than others. So discuss with all the different types of banks in your area which one would be best fit for you. You can take a look at, again, like credit cards, talking with friends that may want to get in the business with you, or family that may want to get in the business with you, or even some crowdsourcing sort of way of doing things where there is these peer-to-peer sort of lending services online, like Kickstarter campaigns and etc., where you can go in there and figure out, how you can get that funding if you don't have that money right off the bat to get started. But hey, you have to start somewhere. So we have to mention this. You have to consider this if you want to get into the box truck business. So after you figured all that out, now you're ready to go and get your permits and licensing for the box truck business. So you have to first, again, if your vehicle that you purchased is more than 10,000 pounds, you will actually have to go and get your MC number and your USDOT number to have your vehicle on the road. Now, you don't need a commercial driver's license to operate that vehicle. If that vehicle is under 26,000 pounds, then you're fine. You can use your normal driver's license, but you still need the certificates for that actual physical vehicle to be driving on those roads. So you need your MC number and DOT number. And after you get those two, you also would need to get your BOC3 form done by the FMCSA. And you can do all of these applications online at the FMCSA government website. And you need these permits and licensing in order to remain legal and compliant with the federal government. Okay, that's the reason why you need them. In addition to this, if you decide to do cross state lines, so if you want to go from New York to Pennsylvania, for example, you will need to register for a unified carrier registration. It's called UCR, United Charlie Richard. So UCR. So if you go down that route to cross state lines, you will have to be registered for the UCR, and it's an actual renewal that happens every year once you get it. So you renew it every single year that you get it. And these basic permits that I talk about, MC, USDOT, BOC3, well, you need that. You need those. And UCR. I would highly recommend getting these so you don't put yourself in a situation where you are actually being given loads from a customer that requires you to go from, for example, New York to Pennsylvania, but you can't because you don't have the licensing. So it's better just to do it right off the bat, and that way you don't put yourself in a situation where you're saying no to a lot of potential customers that are in your regional area, even or across the country. Let's say it's paying really well, and you can't go because you don't have the licensing and permits for that. You don't want to be in that situation. And now that you've done that, you also need to get insurance for your company as well. Okay, so you have to get three certain types of insurance clauses or policies with your insurance provider. You can again reach out to us if you have insurance needs in terms of recommendations. But essentially, you have general liability, auto liability, and cargo coverage. Those are the three that you need in order to get loads from shippers primarily. Now, it is not something that should be taken lightly because insurance is important. Remember the old adage, right? If it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, right? So that's why insurance is important to get to operate your box trucks, whether it's just you or when you start to scale more drivers. It's important to have the proper insurance coverage to be moving freight down the road. So once you've done all of that, you have to wait until you get decals from the FMCSA, from the government in the USA, or your provincial governments in Canada, respectively, if you're a Canadian box truck business, and put that on your vehicles. So that would be your company name, the city you're from, the location. It'll be the US DOT number, the MC number. Maybe if you're doing loads in Kentucky, you'll have your KYU number in there. Maybe your HUT NYU number in there for highway use tax in New York. Connecticut is another one as an example. So this is something, or a CVOR if you're an operator out of Ontario, or NIR number if you're an operator out of Quebec, or a National Safety Fitness Certificate number if you're out of any other province in Canada as well, respectively. So you have to keep that in mind, that this is something you have to do. It's a step you have to take to be legally compliant on the load as well. That is to put these stickers on there. So now that you've went through all of this and you understand now what it takes to open up a box truck business, it is also important that you also need to get an electronic logging device to keep a track of the hours of service of you as the driver, and for you to stay compliant within those measures as a commercial driver in that sense, that you're moving freight down the road. So that electronic logging device is important to get. You can, again, reach out to us if you have any questions as to which one we would recommend as an example. And in addition to that, you should also look at getting a qualified fuel card that can offer fuel discounts, and you can save some money on that fuel side of things as well, because any cent per mile that you can save and any cent that you can save is money back in the pocket of your business. So that's why these fuel cards are such an essential part to beginning your journey as a box truck company. And just keep in mind that, and when you're choosing your fuel card, make sure that they have an extensive network of fueling locations. Okay, you don't want fuel cards that have only a few fueling locations throughout the USA and Canada, respectively. So you want ones that can offer you complete coverage for your box trucks wherever you seem to be doing business in. And the last step that you should take is considering which load boards to use, okay, to begin your journey as a box truck business owner. You can decide between different ones like DAT, that's the most famous one out there. There's Truck Stop as well. In Canada, there's LoadLink. Those are load boards that you can get yourself involved with. In Canada, you have to just build your network and use these load boards as a directory. And same thing in the US, use it as a directory for these freight brokers, so you can sign up with them and they can start sending you direct load offers in the email. Once you've established a rapport with them and established a relationship with them, they know that you have a box truck in Chicago, for example, or box trucks in Chicago. They know that every time they have a customer in the Chicago area that needs freight moved with a box truck, they know that they can depend on you and they don't have to post it on load boards. And so you build these relationships with these freight brokers this way. And in addition to load boards, signing up with freight forwarders, going direct to manufacturers, just talking with them, leaving business cards, an online presence through marketing. This is all a way for you to get loads that can keep your business moving and you can scale the right way. Now, I don't think that you should put all your eggs in one basket. In other words, I don't think that you should be just focusing on load boards. You should spread it out, right? Use load boards as directories and then slowly but surely bring these customers offline, towards direct emails or maybe even online portals where they have load offers, rather than you having to go on load boards and try to book loads that way. In addition to this, you can go down the route of getting an independent freight dispatcher who can keep your box truck loaded. They take percentages anywhere from 5 to 10%. I've seen them lower, but typically speaking, anywhere from 5 to 10% they'll take from the gross revenue of the load. And then that way they can keep your box truck loaded and you on the road. It might be an idea for you to take into consideration. If you need assistance with this, you can reach out to me as well for this kind of information as to how to go about that. But there you have it in terms of the entire process of setting up your box truck business and going about it that way. And so please, if you have any comments or you want to share this or like this video or subscribe to my channel, please do. I'm trying to be a voice in the industry for positive change and positive ethical way of doing business for all parties involved, including people like yourselves that are intrigued about getting into the box truck business, shippers, freight brokers, freight forwarders, the mega trucking companies as well. I want to do, and mom and pop shop companies. I want to just go down the route of an ethical way of doing things and getting people into the business the appropriate way, so they understand the realistic measures as to what it takes to open up a box truck business or any kind of trucking or transportation business, whether cargo vans, sprinter vans, straight truck, box truck company, or flatbed, step deck, reefer, dry van, whatever they decide to go, whatever road they decide to go down. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll, like I said, we'll be in touch. Please send comments or questions my way, and we'll go from there. So thanks again for watching, and if you've stuck this long, please like, share, and subscribe. Cheers.